Hello, my name is Kiriath, and today we're going to talk about something other than Space Marines, hopefully. Now, as a small disclaimer to this, I realise this is going to sound incredibly ungrateful. Even if we go into this, I know that it's going to sound like I'm complaining about something that actually I shouldn't complain about because I'm getting what I should want. After all, I play Space Marines. I have here one of the chaps, well, the Captain in Gravis armour out of the Dark Imperium box. I've been starting to paint him up recently, and I like the model, I like the way he's coming along, even he has got a bit of a roid gut going on there. But I also have like 20 Terminators over there, a Land Raider, and a Typhon siege tank, and God knows what else. But having said all that, you'd have thought that the massive influx of new models, of stratagems, of chapter tactics, of all the stuff that is revolving around the Space Marine Codex, which has already been leaked, which is awesome. Obviously, I cannot recommend that you go about finding leaked copies of stuff, but it's worth a read if you happen to do so. So you'd think, awesome, I should be really happy. After all, I've got Space Marines for days. I've got an older Space Marine army, I'm getting the new Primaris Marines, I fully intend on having pretty much all of the new models, bar the Captain, and probably the Librarian. Even though, having complained about the prices, I kind of want the Apothecary and the Chaplain. Whoops. Anyway, so you'd think I'd be really happy. But I am already approaching a level of burnout that I didn't think I'd get to this quickly. When I jokingly said that because the Codex releases are like Space Marines and then Grey Knights and then Death Guard, and it's going to be very Space Marine heavy for the first few months, I jokingly said, which means everyone will be sick of it. And whilst that was a joke, I have to admit that that's already come to pass for me. I'm already kind of burnt out on Space Marine stuff. Now, it might not be too bad when it comes to Grey Knights, because as far as I can tell from what people have said about the index, it just is. I just haven't looked because I don't play Grey Knights. It's not really that different. It's been a very straightforward port over, according to a few Grey Knights players that I know, which means that we might not get too much in the way of, you know, weekly teasers or daily things about how the Grey Knights can do this and that and the other. It might be a bit more relaxed, a bit less heavy-handed, but it's still more Space Marines. And much though I know that Space Marines are the poster boys of Warhammer 40,000, they are the thing that are designed to sell the hobby, they're designed to sell the game, they're designed to sell the models, they're what Games Workshop puts the most effort into, let's be totally honest. I mean, when it comes to model releases and so on, they get the vast majority of the stuff, and that's because they sell ridiculously well, and when people think 40k, they think Space Marines. That's fine, but I would really like something other than Space Marines already. I'm already at the point where I'm looking at Space Marine stuff and going, that's cool. You got something that isn't like an 8-foot dude in power armor? Have you got anything that's not that? That'd be nice. Even like the vehicles, they still count. There's still a dude in the vehicle piloting it. I'd love to see something totally different. And I'm kind of hoping, I'm really hoping, that as the Space Marine stuff settles down and we see more of the Xenos stuff, I was thinking to myself, which army do I actually want to see first? Now, bearing in mind that as it stands, I don't have any sort of Xenos army. I just don't have any of that stuff. I've got the Death Guard that came with the thing. I've got a whole load of Horus Heresy models that I haven't really got around to doing that much with. As I say, I've got a lot of Space Marines, got an Imperial Knight, but it's all Imperium stuff. I don't have anything in the way of Xenos stuff. And I was kind of thinking to myself, you know, which would I like to see first? And I think, I'm hoping that that you guys will agree when I say that ideally what I'd really like to see straight off the bat, and it's probably going to be a common choice, is Eldar. Because this is something else that is rubbing me the wrong way a little bit. The Eldar had a huge amount to do with Gathering Storm. They had a huge amount to do with the return of Guilliman. I mean, they did some sort of weird funky magic stuff that brought him back, for God's sake. They are pretty much as responsible for him coming back as Cole was. Where are they? I mean, of course, it's the release of a new edition. Space Marines are going to get all the love, but I feel like Eldar had this big event happen with the Inari and all of that stuff, and then 8th edition's come around and it's, look at all these Space Marines, look at all these Primaris, and I'm sort of sitting here going, I don't even have an Eldar army, I really want to know what's going on with them. I want to see new stuff. I want to see expanded rules for all the stuff they've got. I just want something new. Because this is something that I've come to realise. I think one of the reasons I'm already kind of bored of the Space Marine stuff is that I got excited about Primaris Marines. Like, genuinely did. I thought, as I've said over and over again, the implementation was not great, and I don't know how the hell they would have done it in a good way, but I really like the models. I was okay with the lore. Wasn't the best lore ever, but, you know, it'll do. But at the end of the day, something I hadn't considered is the fact that it's still just fucking Space Marines. And it's like, as soon as I know it sounds daft, it's like, yeah, okay, Kiri, how did you not realise it's still just Space Marines? I don't know. I sort of was like, oh, these are brand new, they're different, they're cool, they're awesome, look at these guys, they're massive, they've got different guns, they've got better armour, all of this shit. And really, I mean, let's boil it down. What we got was taller, 2-wound Space Marines with a slightly longer range gun, which I like. It's fine. I like the long range gun, but I feel like I almost hyped myself up for a different, I don't know, like a different race, a different play style, a different, I don't know what I built myself up for, but the realisation that it's just more Space Marines. I mean, it's heavier Space Marines. That's the way I've kind of got myself into thinking about it now. Is it's heavier space. Everything is heavier. Everything is bigger. Is basically what it boils down to with Primaris. The Redemptor Dreadnought is just a bigger, heavier Dreadnought with more guns on it. The Repulsor tank is like a bigger, heavier. I guess it's sort of close to a Land Raider. It's not actually bigger than a Land Raider, I don't think. But it's just like a bigger, heavier tank. And as soon as you realise that, all of the build-up, all of the hype, all of the new models, all of the releases, all the rules, suddenly become just not that much more interesting, you know? It's not really grabbed me as much as I thought it would. And things like, I've been excited for the chapter tactics, the stratagems, but they don't just apply to Primaris, they apply to everything, they apply to all Space Marines. And that in combination with, look at these new Space Marine models, has sort of got me going, great, can we have something that's not Space Marines, please? Anything that isn't Space Marines. I'd love to see Eldar. I really want to see stuff for Eldar. I want to see explorations of the lore for Eldar, for God's sake. Not explanations, explorations. Whichever one of those I said first, it probably wasn't that one. I meant explorations. I want information, I want leaks, I want storylines on how the Andari has affected Eldar society since like 100 years later. I want all of that. But there's none of that to be found, because we're still in Space Marine release mode. I want to know what the fuck, what was it, Trazin the Infinite, isn't it? That was messing about during the Gathering Storm. Was it Trazin? I can't remember which Necron it was. I think it was him. But, you know, big hardcore metal Necron Lord dude who released a bunch of stuff out of his vaults during the events of Gathering Storm. What the hell's he been doing for like 100 years? All the Space Marine stuff has really led me to do is wonder what everyone else has been doing. Like, Gilliman's gone off on his crusade, that's great. The Primaris have been tested in the field of battle, that's great. But it's still Space Marines fighting. I want to know what the Eldar have been doing for like a century. I want to know what the fuck has been going on with the Necrons for a century. I want to know what has happened to the Tau in a century. The Tau are not a massive empire compared to the Imperium. They're relatively small. A lot can happen. Like in the Imperium, 100 years is not really that big a deal. It's like, it spanned 10,000 years, the Imperium. More, in fact. It's not that big a deal, 100 years. For something like the Tau, though, that's a vast amount of time, especially when you don't have warriors that are essentially immortal unless they're killed in battle, which is what Space Marines effectively are. Like, I want all of this stuff. I want all this information. I want a wider view of the galaxy, a wider view of the events of the Gathering Storm, a wider view of the chaos and disruption that the Rift has caused across the galaxy. We're getting it all from a Space Marine point of view. But at this point, I'm not that interested in the Space Marine point of view anymore. I want to know what everyone else thinks. I want to know what's happened to every other race, how every other race has been affected. I want to know what's happened to the Orcs. Did a bunch of them go into the Rift and have a party? That would be awesome. I want to know what's going on with the Tyranids, what effect it's had on them. At the end of the day, I was excited for Space Marine stuff. I was excited for Primaris stuff. But already, I've reached the saturation level where it's not exciting to me anymore. It's not something where they release a new Primaris thing and I go, oh my god, yes. Instead, it's like, oh, that's pretty neat. That's pretty neat. It was when we were talking about the stratagems last week. And then over the weekend, I was kind of sitting there and I was like, oh, I wonder what they're going to do next. And immediately, my mind didn't flash to Space Marines. It flashed at literally everybody else. Literally everybody else. I didn't even think about new stuff that could apply to, you know, Imperium's superlative warriors. No, instead I was like, wonder what's happened to the Eldar, or the Nek, or the Tau, or the Orcs, or just any of them, even bloody Imperial Guard. I'd take that. They're still human, but at least they're different. I'd love to know what's happened with the Imperial Guard. Have they got new vehicles? Has Cole broke anything out for them, or are they just the same as they were? I know AdMech doesn't seem to have got a huge amount out of the index, but like, there's got to be something, right? There's got to be something that isn't Space Marines. And what I really want to know out of this video, apart from just venting a little bit, are you the same? Are you a Space Marines player who already, within like a month and a bit, are just like, yeah, that's great. What about everyone else? Or do you want more stuff? Are you still really are you still loving the Space Marine releases? Are you just like, you cannot get enough, you want more, even though the Codex is out, you're just hoping for more stuff? If you're a Xenos player, how long have you been completely sick of hearing about bloody Space Marines? Because I bet it's been a long goddamn time. I'd be interested to know what you think. Let me know in the comments below. In the meantime, thank you very much for watching. There's the usual array of nonsense all over the screen. Patreon, subscribe, videos. You click all of them, or none of them. It's entirely up to you. Do what you like. It's your life. Yeah, thank you very much for watching. I'll see you next time. Hopefully for something not Space Marine, because that'd be nice.